Well, Dyson went back on Breakfast Club to spew some more nonsense to make black people feel all warm and fuzzy about being black, while continuing to blame white people for the current state of their lives in America. You see, I took it easy on Dyson the first review because I wanted to show a certain level of respect for him and his intellect. But since the nigga blocked me on my little insignificant Instagram after I made my first critique video, I'm going all the way in.
I should crack your motherfucking forehead. Crack your motherfucking forehead.
Fuck it now, since he is so tolerant and helpful to black people that he blocked a young black man for respectfully disagreeing. Now I want you to notice something important about Dyson's arguments, because it's obvious he's stuck in the early 60s, bro. The majority of his arguments and points are past tense. Black people were this, and black people had to go through this, or before it was integrated, and blah, blah, blah. He'll keep referencing situations from half a century ago as proof racism still exists today. He argues that white people are still privileged in this country that was created mostly by their culture, including these terrible historic facts from which we had ample time to recover from when comparing it to any other group of people that was oppressed then allowed freedom and equal opportunity in America. He rarely presents examples of present tense oppression of black people by any white supremacist organization or system, but tries to use exceptions or ambiguous situations that are more recent to prove there is still racism and oppression specifically toward black people. So a quick point on his first point of white privilege and quote unquote sharing it.
Nothing in your book that is any type of hatred towards white people.
Not at all.
If anything, you're asking white America to use its privilege to combat the prejudice that we're seeing.
So I'm asking white people to see whiteness as that artificial construction and get behind the curtain and then take off the burden of that whiteness, because that whiteness hurts white people as much, ironically enough, as it hurts black, brown, red, and yellow people.
Comb through this interview, do you see any mention of what white privileged white men actually have based solely on them being white? Besides the obvious majority benefit you receive in any country you go to compared to the minorities of that country who will have to adjust to fit in, there are no fucking privileges only special to white people that blacks cannot experience or gain as a privilege in America themselves. White people not getting shot when they come in contact with police is not only not a privilege, but it's a fucking lie. More whites get shot by cops, and the amount of people shot by cops compared to the amount of violent crimes committed is actually on par with black people. Also, businesses and entertainment have created ideas that mostly cater to and influence those with their main culture, which happens to be mostly European and Anglo-Saxon, and that's a good business model. Black people can do the same with our own resources and money, and we do in a lot of cases, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes in when black people get mad that ideas they came up with start to be used or picked up by those that they don't think represents the culture, even though they do the same shit with Gucci, Fendi, Prada, you name it. So on to his main point and the most focused on subject of the interview, which was Beyonce losing at the Grammys, and it not being due to the fact that Adele had the highest selling album of 2016 and could be argued was loved by more people than Beyonce's Black Strong Violent Woman CD.
And now Beyonce robbed in a serious way. And if the most recognizable black woman arguably on the globe can't get her due, this is symbolic of something bigger than an individual artist being snubbed. And this is about the politics of blackness in an era of vast, unreachable white mediocrity.
Let's get one thing straight. The Grammys are a subjective music award that was created to award those who exemplify excellence in recording arts based on the voting class for that show. That's a very broad statement, but it doesn't say award show for people who inspire their own race more than the other. To some people, Beyonce's album was not better than Adele's album musicality-wise and message-wise. And just because Beyonce touched Adele's black friends or black people in America in general doesn't mean Adele didn't deserve the fucking award. If you disagree with Adele winning, it doesn't have to be about race. Just because Beyonce is considered the hardest working woman doesn't mean she deserves every fucking award given out by any reputable source for it not to be considered racist. Beyonce has over 20 fucking Grammys, was number 11 in album sales in 2016, and is worth $300 million, more than twice what Adele's worth. And y'all are complaining that she didn't get this one because of racism or white supremacy? Are you serious? How many Grammys does Adele have? I swear it's no pleasing people like Dyson and other race baiters who think white people are out to just steal everything black people have for some reason.
And I'm gonna tell you another motherfucking thing.
To compare Beyonce to Jay-Z in terms of lyricism, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself as a fan of hip-hop, Dyson. As talented as Beyonce is and deserves all the accolades she gets, Beyonce doesn't even write all her songs, and Jay-Z doesn't even write anything down, nigga. He goes off the top, ripping 90% of MCs in the game at his prime. There's no comparison. Quit kissing her ass, man. And stop taking the award so personally and making it about race, when race can be the very reason you lose the award. You exclude other people, then expect awards from them for doing so? Fuck out of here, bro. You're so desperate to be right that you make everything about race to try to prove it. Even in fields like entertainment where black people dominate, he still tries to find a way to make it racist if white people are acknowledged or get involved in business with black people. Charlemagne tries to make a point that Adele missed her moment because she didn't say the exact fucking words he wanted her to say.
Now, I felt like Adele missed the moment. Like you know how we talk about how you can use your privilege to combat prejudice. Like when she said the whole thing about Beyonce's music makes my black friends feel like they can stand up for themselves. I felt like she should have said Beyonce's music makes me want to stand up for black people.
DJ Envy actually brought up a good point. That is exactly what I was thinking.
My whole thing with that is what about if she really didn't feel that way? Right? What about if she felt that, yeah, you made my black friend stand up and she didn't get that necessary feeling?
Right.
I feel like sometimes we look for acceptance of people that we necessarily don't need acceptance from.
It's not Adele's obligation to stand up for black people, nor does it make her a better person if she says something like that, because we don't know her true intention. Black people think it's okay to continuously ask for more from white people for a past they played no part in. Then Dyson's race-baiting ass assumes Adele has white guilt, but giving Beyonce half the award isn't enough. No, she also has to say the exact words, "It makes me want to stand up for black people," and basically shit on her own musical abilities and give Beyonce the entire award for him to be happy with her gesture. That shit needs to stop. This is Al Sharptongue and Jesse Jackson's love child with these arguments he's presenting, bruh. Even the Asian argument that whites want to stop Asians from being successful in beating them is incorrect.
But when the Asians started whipping that white ass, all of a sudden, it became a problem. The quota got enforced, formally or informally, and now white competition with others who can beat them is regulated.
Asians outpace white Americans in every way in America at this present moment, but that's starting to change now that the younger generation of Asians are becoming more westernized, as their parents still maintain that disciplined culture from which they came and made them successful. White business owners don't care about your skin color as much as they do your ability to make them money and add value to their company. This idea that white people have privilege just because they're white is nonsense, because any race of people who work hard and learn skills of value in the economy in America get a good job and live successfully and happily. Black people aren't losing because of racism. Black people are losing because they aren't choosing to go into higher paying fields other than entertainment, arts, and other low paying jobs. That's why I sit here to make a video to entertain you. But anyway, it's more so what black people can do for themselves that's important, rather than how white people can give black people whatever privilege they supposedly didn't earn. Why do white people have to pay for their parents' good decisions to live a life that would provide their children with a better chance at life and being able to support themselves? White people don't owe black people because black parents didn't decide to take proper steps to ensure their child's future was bright, or that they'd at least have the opportunity to pursue what makes them happy. If you choose not to go for jobs that pay more and are more practical instead of a lottery pick, then that's your own fault if you don't lead a lucrative career. Stop blaming white people for your parents' bad decisions not to prepare for when you were brought into this world, whether financially, mentally, or physically. Black people aren't biting for that shit as much anymore anyway. It's becoming more obvious that people like Dyson are preying on white people willing to give him something so he can use that as proof there's still racism or white privilege. Trying to milk black people is no longer a focus, and it has shifted to trying to make a new generation pay for a small percentage of the previous generation's bad decision.
Right, when they say, well, it's the white working class, we had to work. The white working class got protected too. How? It kept out black people from unions.
Okay, unions were definitely known to be used as a weapon to combat immigrants and blacks willing to work for lower wages than the people who already had government contracts for work. When blacks were freed and in the workforce, they would undercut the current competition by doing the same labor, but at cheaper prices, and sometimes even better than the current contract holder. Unions created minimum wage so that these companies couldn't hire blacks, and that ideology is still pushed today as a good thing for people in the lower class class or unskilled. That is no longer only exclusive to whites though, and unions are very diverse but are still as much a problem to the free market now as they were at its inception. It's no longer a racist organization that seeks to oppress the black man. It oppresses anyone not in the union trying to compete for those jobs because union job security and the monopoly on the contracts and law in relation to work conditions stifle free market advances at providing those services at a price that reflects the market rather than the union's idea of what they think is good enough for them. This is not to say that unions don't have their benefits, but being government controlled and having that threat of violence behind you is why unions are detrimental to the market with how they currently exist. If you want to be a successful company in the free market, you have to find a medium where your employees are content with their benefits or pay for the job they provide and its worth to the company, and what's a good price to sell your product or service at to make a profit without gouging prices and running your customers off to your competitors.
What you don't understand is that whiteness is built in with the ability to rig the competition in favor of the white guy. That's why Donald Trump's presidency is so apropos. It's all that, but it's also about the fact that a mediocre white boy is occupying the most powerful position in the world, and he is manifestly inferior and incapable of manning up or intellectualing up to be able to fit the office for which he has been elected.
Wow, how can you speak about somebody being inferior to you when he's accomplished more for himself and the people you claim to be representing than you have? Trump has pledged to do more for unemployment with blacks and has employed more through his business than Dyson can fucking afford. Him attacking Trump as if he's the dumbest man on this planet and has no type of expertise or intellect is annoying and baseless. I hate to have to defend this man because there is so much more to critique than his intellectual capacity. But niggas like Dyson and the media continue to focus on trying to slander his character though, because that's what's worked in the past instead of real journalism. People have caught on to that tactic though, and millennials don't give a fuck about half the shit they say about Trump because it's what makes him human and seem genuine. I think Dyson is jealous that he isn't president. I think he's mad that someone who isn't a politician surpassed him while barely trying and just paying for that shit. You mad, bro? You salty because you've been at this your whole life and have got sunned by someone you think is incompetent. Get over yourself, bruh. Oh God, did this nigga really just say that black women have been fighting for black men the most?
Of course we have male privilege. We have male privilege when it comes to black women, right? But black women have done more to protect black men than any other group in America, including black men.
Citations, please. Nah, I think you meant black women have been fighting black men the most. Black men don't have a single fucking privilege over black women besides biological ones, and they try to take that away from us as well. Black women have completely abandoned black men and picked up feminism and white women's way of living in America, which is to delegitimize men and use us for resources and dick when it's convenient. Black women are the least likely to get married while being the most likely to go to college and get a decent job in their younger years, paying more than their male counterparts, black or white, and continue to demonize black men who decide to date out of their race while black women do it often. Black women have control over men in court, over most of their finances, over his children, over government, etc. Black women don't give two fucks about black men, and our boys are growing up with no sense of masculinity and how to be men while continuously looking for women to try to validate their manhood. Women haven't the slightest clue how to please men or how men should be, and I'm tired of being demanded to respect a woman just because she's a mother or has some position of power. Who gives a fuck? Women disrespect men all the time and call us all the same names you claim we call them, so it's not about name calling. That's fucking words, and words have too much control over black people's minds as it is, rather than the meaning and context of words you use. I personally don't think the few women Dyson brought up who actually value and care for men represent even a majority of young black women today that we have to put up with. Women today look to those few women as examples of how women can treat good men, but none of them actually treat men with respect and value because they don't see regular men as worthy as the women in media with her man. Women are becoming more selfish, and in return, they don't value men enough to not look for the next best thing while with a good man. It's easy for women to swing from man to man and use men in the new wave of technology. And I'm not gonna tell men to keep blinding themselves to reality as some sort of solution to black women dogging men and getting mad when men they actually value do the same to them. Women have damn near all the control in relationships and picking mates. So stop acting like men are the reason these women choose to run wild and act like the bitches and hoes we address them as. Women who know they don't fit that mold aren't disappointed, especially if they have a good man already. They couldn't care less what these rappers and other niggas are calling women if that's their situation. Beyonce is a prime example. She made damn near an entire album about men not being shit and women being independent, and then went right home to her husband and acts nothing like the bullshit men she sings about. And I'm sure she doesn't act like that towards her man either. I don't have too much to say about the bank and black thing, nor do I disagree with much that Dyson said, besides the part where he once again made it about race, of course. But Envy was the voice of reason in the interview. He was the main one that brought up the point that where your money is going is more important than the color of the person who owns the bank, and that putting your money in a bank doesn't really do much to grow your money or your community.
I don't care who owns what business. I would like to
of
bank with my own, but I want to know everything. Now,
there it is.
Another thing we discuss, and I think a lot of our people do this a lot. They acquire money and don't know where to put it and put it in the bank.
I don't give a fuck if the person who owns the bank is man, woman, black, white, or Mexican. What's the true purpose behind this action of giving them my money is the question. Even if they said they're investing in black businesses, I would still want to know what type of businesses they invest in and what procedures they have for getting loans from the bank. Dyson seemed to just be feeding off what Envy and Charlemagne said to try to find a way to agree with them and still make it about the race agenda he's pushing so vehemently. Trying to sell that book tough, I see, huh, man? Get it in. I do want to make a quick point about him telling people that LeBron removed all the white people in this camp to replace them with black people. I don't think it's safe to assume that LeBron did that with the intent of color in mind. I think he did that to put the people he trusts in his life and that would have his best interest in others they work with at heart in power. LeBron is very strategic and cares about his image a lot, so him making Paul his agent was much bigger than race in my speculation. Even Rich Paul works with other races, and I saw claims that he's a person that bridges the gap between races, but I don't know him personally, so I'm not sure of his character enough to say. Now lastly, Charlemagne makes a quick point about white people feeling like being pro-black means you hate whites, to which Dyson went on another rant about how blacks love whites so much, of course.
They hear us on this radio and they hear us talking all of this black stuff and pro-black stuff. Could you please let them know that that don't mean we hate white people?
Now, even though there are some white people who see it that way, I don't think generally white people think blacks hate them because of the quote-unquote pro-black talk. I think white people think blacks hate them because you continue to blame them for blacks' current situation, or tell average white men who don't have much to give or say they achieved from privilege instead of hard work that they didn't earn it and should share it with somebody else just because their skin tone. That isn't pro-black. That doesn't help black people develop the mindset of just loving themselves and not feeling like they have to act like they're superior and created everything to be pro-black. White people don't have meetings to try to figure out what blacks are doing and how to exploit them to make it look like Whitey is the creator. And they don't care about black people as much as people like Dyson lead you to believe. Black people are the main people who speak in black and white language. Most white people I speak to don't even think of white people as a body of people. Black people do that more, and we fail to understand that we're the minority in this country and have to stop expecting the entire country to acknowledge black people and change their way of living or seeing the world just to accommodate one culture of people in a country of many different cultures. Why do white people have to care about us? White people have no obligation to care about black people or our condition, and that's what you have to understand. People have their own fucking lives to tend to and are usually more concerned with the people in their immediate life than those they never come in contact with, regardless of their skin color. It's very arrogant of you to think white people need to care about black people and how we treat our communities, especially when it seems like we don't care ourselves. And I hate to speak in this black and white bullshit language myself, because there's a good percentage of black people that go against every stereotype and are very good people who provide a lot to society and have nothing to do with Dyson or Democrats for that matter. I'm just tired of this man continuously babying black people and acting like white people are just standing in the way of black people without adding anything of value to society that isn't based on skin color. Yeah, so this is Rev Outlier again, and I appreciate you listening to me going on Dyson one more again. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel and keep the movement going, man. I appreciate any engagement you can offer to me. Thank you.